Well, I did a reaction to Grace Vanderwaal's version of Cry Me a River about 10 days ago, and I said it was the best version of that song that I'd ever heard. And I said that second place to me was Ella Fitzgerald, and I'd actually thought about doing a mashup for those two on that reaction, but I wanted to give Grace the full stage. And of course, it was the first time I was hearing it by Grace Vanderwaal. So, well, somebody has anticipated me. Tom Smith on his YouTube channel, Tom Smith, has done a mashup, and I'm going to do a reaction to that today. I think he's doing little sections of each. And then, so what I'm going to do, oh, this was recommended to me by Paul Hoffmaster. Thank you very much, Paul. And thank you, Tom, for putting up this mashup. So what I'm going to do is after the section has been done by each artist, I'm going to just stop it briefly and talk about it. This is not an easy song to sing, it seems to me, lyrically, because of the lyrics. The lyrics say two things, and they're two very starkly different things. It's about somebody who's been untrue, and now they're crying and they're lonely, and you're like, yeah, well, cry me a river, like I care, you know? So that's really the primary message on this song. But then, of course, right after it says that, it says, I cried a river. You know? So here's the first stanza, just real quick. Now you say you're lonely, you cried the long night through. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. And then, I cried a river over you. Then, now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. So it's got it, the artist has to go back, doesn't have to, but it seems to me that the best interpretation of this song would be going back and forth between those two emotions, between those two meanings. And of all the ones I've heard snippets of, about a dozen of them, nobody has done that completely. The only one who had a little bit of snark, which I think is appropriate to this song, was Grace herself, but she didn't do it all the way through the song. So I'm not sure it's ever been done perfectly right in that regard, where you feel the snark and then you feel the plaintive feel. But the thing that I look for on this song is how authentic does the Cry Me a River seem in the artist's voice? And that's where I said Grace exceeded. So this is not as, well, this is a comparison. This isn't to say which one is best. This is just, I just want to kind of go into the nuances of Ella and Grace on this. So what do you say we jump in? I think it's about 4 minutes. Yeah, it's 4 minutes. And thanks again to Tom for putting this together. So we'll start out with Ella. So here we go.
Now you say you're sorry
Love that little.
for being so untrue. Cry me a river, cry me a river, 'cause I cried a river over you.
You. Love that.
Now you say you're sorry
There's no comparison, folks. Wow.
for being so untrue.
The way she said so.
Well, you can cry me a river, cry.
I've got to go back to that well. The way she, I think I did it in my previous reaction, the way she does that. Her vibrato and the emotions on this are just off the charts. I mean, I almost hate to say it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Frankly, there's just no comparison. I love Ella, but there's just no comparison on this song. I'm going to go back to where she says, well.
Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
Okay. Well, the vibrato texture and almost whispering and hanging on the words that Grace does is so emotional. I'm mesmerized, both emotionally and visually, by Grace's performance. Whereas Ella's seems almost a little bit tinny in comparison, even though she's got an extraordinary voice. And she kind of plays with the vocal texture a little bit, which she does all the time. But that depth of feeling is not coming through as much on Ella's like it obviously does on Grace's. Grace's is almost like she's going to die, but in a gorgeous way. Okay, let's go to the next clip.
You carried me, nearly drove me out of my head. When you never shed a tear.
Wow.
You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head, while you never shed a tear.
The way she said shed and that rasp that she's got. Ella's almost putting a little bit of a sort of a jazz funk into hers. And frankly, I don't think that's good for this song. I don't think a sort of funky jazz sound is really good for this song. Even though hers is my second favorite version of this. I still love it. But Grace is getting to the words. The words are coming out more with her. I think it's interesting also that Ella is reading this. Not really. That's got to be a little bit sort of it's sort of making it a little bit drier to where you're not just absorbing the lyrics that you already know. So I'm not sure if she's doing that because of the pacing or the instruments or what. But it's coming across a little bit drier, a little bit more almost fabricated in a way. You know what I mean? Okay.
Remember, I remember all that you said.
That's sassy.
Told me love was too plebeian. Told me you were through with me, and
I remember all that you said.
It's a stark contrast.
Said love was too complacent and said you were through with me.
I'm sorry, I'm going to back it up. I love the way she said complacent. The way she goes up a pitch in that and just makes it just seem so like she's connecting to the word itself and what happened.
Said love was too complacent and said you were through with me, and
now you say you're sorry. Well, just to prove you do, come on and cry me a river, cry me a river, 'cause I cried the river over you. I cried a river over you. I cried a river over you.
now
Okay, before we get into Grace, I just want to talk about that. I felt like there at the end, Ella really connected to the song. I felt the emotion of it. Excuse me. But what I found interesting is that I actually think Grace's voice is a nicer voice, not just more emotional. I just think it's a nicer voice, and I never really thought I would say that. I think Grace's vocals have developed into such an extraordinary, controlled, but not in a bad way, and easy, raspy, whispery, sort of mix between contralto and soprano. It's just so evocative and now like smooth, complex. It's difficult to say. But I did like the fact that Ella did seem to be connecting to that there at the end. Okay, Here we go with Grace.
Oh,
That vibrato
you say you're sorry.
backs off. So she backs off into the contralto with that say. You say you're sorry. It's so, I got goosebumps. Let's listen to that again.
Now
Melody, vibrato.
you say you're sorry.
Wow.
Just to prove you do. Why don't you cry me a river? Cry me a river. I cried a river over you. I cried a river over you. I cried a river over you.
Wow. You know, I'm not sure why she sat down to do this song. Obviously, she must have connected to it in some way, but I'm impressed by the fact that she never does anything half-ass. I mean, if I were her, I would be proud to do that presentation right there at a piano bar, at a concert, wherever. And I like the fact that she doesn't turn it into a sort of superficial torch song, which is kind of how it comes across with Ella, up until the very end there with Ella. And also, I want to talk about how Grace just seems to have the right sense for dubbing in her voice as a background. She does it twice on this, and both times it just gives it that extra sort of ethereal feel. She's really good at that. But her voice, I mean, her voice is just going to different places. If y'all saw my Finding Grace episode on her lyrics, but her voice, even like on Make It Out Alive, that raspy scream almost that she's got, she can do that, and yet she can come down to a sort of vibrato contralto, slow pace. Boy, those are hard to sing, and do this. I mean, she is really, I mean, by far, even over Diana Krall and others, by far the best torch singer. And I just think it's because of her soul, frankly. So, wow. I really enjoyed the comparison here. Thanks, Tom, for putting this up. I like the mashup. It gives me even a greater respect for Grace's abilities to express emotion, to authentically get it across in such a way that it just goes right through you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Y'all let me know what you think. I'll catch you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye now.